Even now, when I think about that time, it feels so horrible. I've tried to live without thinking about it again, because when I do, I feel so terrified that I can't do anything. But for the sake of sharing this story, I'll recall that hellish time one last time. It was 6 years ago when I met a man named Cameron. At first, I thought he was a good person. He ran a flower shop and always carried flowers with him. But when I found out why he liked flowers so much, it was already too late. I started dating him, and every time we met, he gave me a bouquet of flowers. The flowers were always of the best quality. They were all beautiful and carefully selected. One day, as he handed me a bouquet, he picked out a few flowers and broke them. Confused, I asked him why. He said, "They're not pretty. I get angry when I see ugly things." His expression suddenly turned murderous. I was startled by the change in his face and froze. Then he looked at me and said, "Why? You're pretty. Don't worry. I won't break you." As he said this, he grabbed my shoulder. His hand felt unnaturally strong. I remembered how he often did arm exercises with dumbbells when there weren't any customers in the shop. Suddenly, I started to feel scared of him. Seeing the fear on my face, he leaned in and whispered quietly, "All you have to do is stay pretty without withering. So please smile. You look ugly with that frowning expression." Then he smiled brightly again and handed me a bottle of water. "Your skin needs hydration. Drink water," he said. That's when I realized he was a psychopath. Goosebumps covered my skin, and I decided I needed to end things with him immediately. Before our next date, I called two friends, Adam and Jonathan, and asked them to watch me from a distance and to help if anything goes wrong. I explained the situation, and they agreed to help. They waited in their car near Cameron's house, ready to intervene when I gave them the signal. When I arrived at Cameron's doorstep, I rang the doorbell. He told me to come inside, but I refused to enter. He came to the front door, confused, and asked me what was wrong. That's when I told him we needed to break up. For a moment, he seemed surprised and stood silently for about 5 seconds. Then, with a bitter smile, he said, "When you say that, you look so ugly right now." Slowly, he raised his hands and grabbed my neck. His grip was incredibly strong. "You were such a pretty flower," he said. "Why did you suddenly change? I told you, I didn't want to break your neck." He loosened his grip slightly and whispered softly, "I'll give you one last chance. Do you really want to break up with me, or will you be my flower again?" With a trembling voice, I told him we should break up. Suddenly, he screamed, "I'll kill you!" Grabbing my head with both hands, he started breathing heavily, as if mentally preparing to snap my neck. I screamed for help as loud as I could. At that moment, Adam and Jonathan heard my screams. They ran to me, tackled Cameron to the ground, and restrained him while calling the police. Cameron was arrested, and I later learned that he had done the same thing to his ex-girlfriends. One of his ex-girlfriends had her neck snapped, and she barely survived. Cameron had used his wealth to pay her a huge settlement and avoid severe punishment. This time, Cameron went to prison, and I was lucky to escape with my life. 5 years later, I received even more horrifying news. A friend of Cameron's contacted me and told me that after he was released from prison, he killed another woman and was sentenced to life in prison. Apparently, he had found a new girlfriend. One day, they had a fight, and he snapped her neck. Afterward, he called his friend crying and said, "I broke a flower." When the police arrived, they found the woman's body in a bathtub full of water, her neck completely broken. Cameron was pouring water over her head and stroking her hair. When I heard that story, I was so shocked that I had to see a psychiatrist for a while. Even now, I often wonder, what would have happened to me if Adam and Jonathan hadn't been there that day? They saved my life, and I will never forget how grateful I am to them.